Hi Freelancer, welcome to Season 2 of the Freelance Blueprint. I'm your host Lizzie, a freelance UX designer and digital nomad. If you're new here, hello and welcome. The goal for this podcast is to help you create a work life that works for you by freelancing. I'm interviewing freelancers from all over the world at different stages in their career so you can find out how they started and apply their learnings to your own freelance journey. I'm so excited for the guests in this season, including Michael Janda. Gosh, I have to pinch myself for that. Dyniza, today's guest, Frank from Good Day Frank, and more freelancers. But I'm not just interviewing people with a big following, because you might be at the beginning or more likely somewhere in the middle of your freelance journey, and there's no point if you compare your first chapter with someone else's third book. So make sure to subscribe if you haven't already to get notified when I launch the next episode. All right. Today we're joined by Dyniza, a fellow UX designer and freelancer. If you're a designer and are on Instagram, you've most likely come across one of her reels. She's grown her following significantly and has recently launched her first UX course. With over 190k followers, she knows a few things about creating a personal brand as a freelancer. In this episode, we talk about how she built her personal brand, her love for food and traveling, and, to my surprise, her confidence issues and how she tackled them. Let's find out more about her journey with social media, what it's like to launch a course, and how she started her freelance journey. Hi, Dyniza. Thanks for joining the podcast today.
Hey, Lizzie.
Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Ukraine currently.
For the people that don't know anything about you, but would meet your best friend and your best friend would describe you to them, how would your best friend describe you?
Oh, well, I think they would describe me as someone who is independent in her 20s, who's living on her own, who still cannot manage how to cook and eats the same stuff still because she doesn't know how to do it well, but she just enjoys her solo traveling so much, and she just carries her film camera and a notebook and laptop with her, and that's all she needs. And she just loves visiting like historical places and museum and art gallery because she used to study museology back in the days. I know it's so random, but yeah, she loves history, but she dropped the university and it just remained as her favorite hobby.
Okay, cool. So, several things. One is, what is the one thing that you always cook for yourself? The other thing is, why museology? And what camera do you use?
So, I would say that the first question, what I cook the most, is just the rice with chicken. I used to live back in South Korea, and I don't know, like it's an addiction. I can eat rice every day since then. The second question was why museology? It's
Yes.
just because like I love reading history, and when I was back in my high school, I had like a really nice history teacher, and he gave me that love to history, and I really loved it. I wanted to be like an archaeologist even, and that's the reason why I chose this majority for my university. But then after 1 year, I decided that it's just not for me, and I just quit it. That's how
Hmm.
it ended up. Yeah. And the last question was which my camera? So it's
Yes.
like Olympus MGU 3. Yes.
Okay, cool. Nice. I still have so many questions about this because like also I solo travel as well, and I think it's super super nice when you can just do your own thing and just go for a walk and explore and
Mhm.
just do like a photo shoot of the city. I just
Yes.
use my phone, but I just talked with a friend about it of getting like a proper camera. So I guess also that helped you a lot with Instagram because your content is quite high quality, I would say,
Oh,
like
thank
the way
you.
you film, the shots, the edits. Did you learn that through photography or how did you start with that?
Well, I think it's all comes to observation. You just look at other creators and you see how they do this, what's their vision of best shot. So you just copy them, and that's how you do it. I try to recreate the creators and their content, and that's how it just started working for me as well.
So basically you were looking at the content that you liked and you looked at how they were editing it and filming it and then you recreated it.
Yes, yes. So I also analyzed what makes this video go viral, like
Hmm.
what makes this video go so well and like doing so well. So is it like the headline that it's so catchy? Is it like the audio that it's like now viral and popular? Is it like the editing or the person saying something valuable? So always analyzing and then just recreate it on my own way, and that just really worked. And it also like comes to a lot of people are saying like, where do I get the ideas for creating content? How do I know if it's good? Just like select like 2 3 creators that you like and are doing well in that niche, and then just start recreating the content. And then you will be, once you like sharpen your skills, you will be at the point that you will bring your own style to it.
Nice. I think it's like with everything, you start somewhere, and if you see something works for someone else, you can, like you analyze it and you see what works and what doesn't. But the thing that I find difficult with Instagram, and I think we had a conversation about this a while ago, where I had this crappy reel, nothing special, but someone copied it almost one on one, like the same text and stuff, and I was just, and there was even a person that I met traveling, and yes, everything's online. It's also not, it wasn't the greatest idea in the world. And it's, sometimes you see something and then you remember a quote, but you don't remember where it's from. So I think it was also influenced by other people. So it wasn't anything, there's nothing new under the sun. But I felt a bit weird by having that person recreate my reel. At the same time, I felt a bit proud because it's like, someone's copying me. Does it mean like it's good, How
Yeah.
do you feel about this when you see someone post or like copy your stuff, or how do you borrow from someone without copying from them?
How do I feel if someone do this with my content, right?
Yeah.
Well, first of all, I'm kind of proud of myself then.
Hmm.
I feel like if they copy me, they consider me as someone who I can copy from. So that's kind of like honorable for me.
Yeah.
It's not a bad thing at all. And I always like remember this quote that good designers copy, great designers steal. So there is nothing wrong with that, because like it's been always in this niche, like designers do copy designs from Dribble, from Behance, from someone else, and it's like normal, but to the point that you know why you're doing this. You're not just repeating their mistakes, you're not just copying their mistakes. You know that they did great with this, and there's nothing wrong with not just stealing, but just recreating and improving and adding your personal touches to it and making it better.
Yes, exactly. I think it's similar with startups. If you create anything new, the first person who came up with it does all the work and it's so much effort. And then you have all these copycats, and for them, it's so much easier because they have the idea, they analyze what works and doesn't, and then they create a often cheaper and then better version, which really sucks if you're the first one who
Yeah.
creates something. But yeah, just to come back to freelance topic, because actually this podcast is about freelancing. So you're a UX designer, you're a UX freelancer. How did you get started?
Okay, so I started not as a freelancer. It was all like back when I was living in South Korea. Used to live in like 3 months. I saw this girl who really inspired me. Her name was beautiful. Like everything about her was so beautiful in her lifestyle, and she was. Her name was Chanel, by the way. So
Oh,
she
wow.
was living like my dream life. Yeah.
Hmm. What did you do?
She was working from cute cafes. She was a freelancer. I think she did like a writing
Hmm.
thing. Yes. So she had like this sense of freedom. She had worked with the flexible hours and working from cute cafes, living on her own. And I was like, I need this type of work. I also need this remote job that would allow me to work from any part of the world and just have this freedom. And when I came back to Ukraine, I started to think, what kind of professions can give me this type of lifestyle. So I made the list of professions that can work for me, and the first on the list was copywriting.
Hmm.
And I do remember that I tried the copywriting course and I didn't like it, so I just crossed it, like no, not mine. And then I move on the list, and then second point was web development, and I tried, like I took a free courses on web development, and no, too smart for me, too hard. And I just crossed the line for web development. And then the third point was UX UI design. And I took like a webinar, a free webinar, and I was like, that sounds interesting. Like it also requires like this like artistic skills. So I love something creative, not just too code oriented. Like
Hmm.
it wasn't my thing. So I thought that UX UI design could work for me. So I took a course in my city for 1 month, but at the end of the course, I felt like I have still zero knowledge in UX UI design. It wasn't enough at all. So I decided to take more online courses. But I was lucky enough at the time to meet the right people that gave me the opportunity to work and to be a full-time UX UI designer. So I landed an internship for like 3 months, and after those 3 months I became a full-time UX UI designer. Yeah, and I worked for like 2 years at that company.
Cool. What type of company was it?
It was like a startup.
Okay, cool. What type of stuff? Was it based in Korea? Or was it somewhere else?
No, it was like based in England.
Hmm.
Yeah. I worked there for like 2 years, and then I decided that I want to quit. And
Mm.
then that's how my freelance journey started.
What were the products you were designing back then?
I was like always different. It was like landing pages, apps, softwares, like always different. So that's what I love about
Ah,
my job, because like I got so much experience from there, because like I was working on so many different products, and I could grow as a UX researcher, I could grow as a UI designer, I could even grow as a content creator, because they also had like their Instagram page and they asked me to create content there, to create reels, and that's how my content creation journey started. I just kind of
ah.
like created content for them, and that's how it gave me also confidence to create my own blog, to start my own social media presence, because I had like a little experience in that.
Wow, perfect. So it kind of set you up for the career path that you're having right now, creating content to promote your services. You also launched your course, so now you're teaching what you learned in that time. The other thing I'm interested in is how did you end up in Korea? Was it studying or was it for work or how did you end up there?
Oh, it was so random. Like I quit my university, so I thought, what should I do next? And I just had this idea that I need to fulfill my dreams, and my dream was to visit South Korea.
Hmm.
And I decided to even learn Korean at the school. So I was visiting Korea not just for traveling purposes. I was also learning there Korean. So I also thought that maybe I would even apply for university in Korea and just live my life there. But I ended up thinking that maybe it's not for me, so I'll just give myself more time. And then it all turns out that I decided to become a freelance a UX designer. So my dreams are just like, no, it's not accurate for me right now. But I'm
Hmm.
still thinking to move to Korea, by the way.
Nice. I mean, I'm not that far. I'm in Japan now. And I've been to Korea once, and the food, the Korean barbecues, and the kimchi. Oh my God, it's so good. And I mean, we were talking briefly before about the rice. And I know so many of my friends, they can't eat rice every day when they come to Thailand or go to other places. Like, okay, can we have pasta or pizza or something? I can have rice every day. But also, my mom is Thai, so it's a bit different. I grew up on it. I would have breakfast, lunch, and dinner rice. But what was it about
Oh.
Korea that fascinates you?
Oh, I didn't know that your mom is Thai. That you had this Asian roots.
Yeah, I'm very whitewashed. If I go somewhere and I talk in Thai, they reply in English, and it takes them a second to realize I'm talking Thai with them. But I do have an accent, so they probably think I'm just a foreigner that moved
You
to
know
Thailand.
Thai?
Yeah, but not crazy much. But how is your Korean? Do you use it for work? Like, were you able to use it outside of Korea in some way?
Oh, just a little bit. Like I forgot many things.
Hmm.
But there was a time at the company where we had like a Korean client,
Ah,
and
perfect.
my boss asked me. He thought that I knew Korean like so good. He thought that I'm so proficient at it. He asked me, "Can you speak with the client a bit in Korean? Because like that, it would build a nice connection." And I'm like, "No." And but I did join the call, and I pretended like I did know something. I memorized the intro, and I said in Korean something in Korean, and then he replied, and I'm like, is it a question or is it a statement? I don't know what to answer, and I was like, yeah, yeah, 알겠어, 알겠어요, 감사합니다.
Sometimes you have to fake it.
The other thing that I want to mention about Korea is that I do love K dramas. Like, I'm such a huge fan of K dramas, and then I do have my favorite K pop groups as well. Because like I was a huge fan since 14. That's the like Korean addiction that you have, and then I love their food. Their food is just so good. I gained like 5 kilos when I was in Korea because I was just eating so much there.
Mm.
Tteokbokki is the best thing, and the street food is just so good.
What's that?
Tteokbokki?
Hmm.
It's like made of rice cake, I think. That's the
Okay.
thing, and covered in sauce, in hot sauce.
Now I really want to go back to Korea. But now that you're a full-time UX designer, do you still travel full-time, or you're based at home and then do trips every now and then? Are those holiday trips, or do you also work remotely?
No, I worked remotely, and that's what I really love about freelancing is that if I decide just to move somewhere else or just to visit my parents in Europe, I just go there and work from there. So there is no such thing for me as trips or holidays. I just create them every in every moment I want. And that I think you also have this type of lifestyles. I was
Yeah.
looking through your stories, and that's what I really love about it.
I think it's a bit difficult because, like, for example, last week I was meeting my family and I took off one day, and the other day I just had a little bit. I had one call with my subcontractor, which I didn't want to move because I wanted to make sure the project moves on. And my sister was saying, "Oh, you're always working. Can you just not take a full week off?" Because she was on a 4 week holiday. And part of me was a bit jealous because, like, 4 weeks not doing
Oh.
anything, not having to open your laptop and like just living day to day, not making plans. But also, I know I could not do this for a full month because I would get bored, or I wouldn't feel like it's wasted time, but I would feel like, oh, in this 1 month, there's so much progress I could have done. And I think it's similar to what you said. Like, I don't go on holiday as such. I create enough pieces of holiday throughout my routine, my day to day, that I don't have to take on a big trip. But I also think a lot of freelancers, they never really switch off. They never really have a break. How do you deal with that?
Mm. But if I would choose like between having like 2 weeks off, but working like 1 year as a full
Mm,
time, and then the other option is just to work as much as you want and you feel comfortable with, but then you can travel at any point of life you want at any time and just travel the whole year, I would definitely choose the second option for
yeah.
sure. And also, one thing more is that when I just started as my freelance journey, I had this problem that I was even working at the weekends.
Mm,
I I didn't have this line like a line to separate the work and then the time for myself because I thought that since I'm working for myself, I need to put as much effort as possible. So I was like kind of like was burnout at the very start. And that's the reason why I thought that I decided for myself that I'm working only from Monday to Friday. I work like 6 hours or like 4 6 hours. Do not work on the weekends, and on the weekends I spend time for me, for my family, with for like for anything else that is more important than my career, and then I just recover from the work, and to the point that I already miss working days. Like I do want to work, I'm waiting for Monday. I had my relaxed time, I had my own personal time, so I'm ready to work, and I do love this schedule way more than I was just working every day and then just finding like at least finding some time to relax. So I do prefer having this schedule, like a typical schedule that you have on the job, on the regular job.
yeah, I think the good thing about freelancing is if you want to work the 9 to 5, you can define those 9 to 5 for yourself. If you prefer that structure, you can do it.
Mhm.
Nobody's going to be like, oh, but why are you not working on weekends? Why are you not doing some personal branding stuff on Friday night, Because it's your own business. You decide for yourself. You have the freedom to do that. What was it for you that made you decide that you want to quit your full time job and you want to start freelancing?
Oh, okay. So, one of the first thing, as I mentioned, that I really wanted this like lifestyle that this girl had in South Korea, and she was doing freelancing, and she had this flexible hours, and I didn't have this sense of freedom when I was working in my company. So I felt like I need to find something else. I didn't know about freelancing. I didn't know exactly that I'm going to be a freelancer. I thought that maybe I'll just quit this job and find another with more flexible hours with better conditions. So that was my initial idea. But then I quit it and then I applied for so many jobs but didn't get any response. So I'm like, okay, maybe I'll just try freelancing then. So it didn't work for me. So that's the reason how I end up doing the freelance thing.
Hmm. So, how did you find your first clients?
The thing is that I've since I was doing a lot of user research thing at my company, I was responsible mostly about this part. So I thought that maybe if I, when I quit my job and when I start freelancing, I would look for more research opportunities like freelance projects. But it was like the chances to get a freelance research project and then to get like and being well paid are so small, are so little. Like there are no chances for doing that. So I focused mainly on the research project, and I did got one, but I didn't pay much, and it was just more like for fun, I guess. And I didn't like it, that the point that I was so limited by the fact that I was doing only research part of the project. So I had to switch my mindset. I had to learn new skills, like improve my UI design skills. I had to learn no code tools like Webflow or Framer, and then to start offering like a complete solution and to increase my chances to get a client. So that's how it all ended up. So I learned these skills and then I posted on TikTok. I think I posted on TikTok some fun, like random video where I'm doing like this project for fun. I'm using some tools, 3D tools to create the website. And then from that video, one client responded and said like, "Hey, can you do the same for me? Can you do the same project for me, website?" So that's how I got my client. So it's literally from TikTok and literally from non-existent project. So
Wow.
yeah.
Wow, congrats. Because I think nowadays it's very, very tricky to get into UX, especially freelancing, because I think it's one thing getting a UX job as a junior designer. It's still very, very hard because now there's so many boot camps, there's so many courses, and it's very difficult to find one that covers everything because there's just so much you can learn about UX, UI, research, whatever you want to focus on. There's so many different things. And then it's another thing once you got that not freelance, once you get that junior role to then start freelancing because I remember when I worked in a company and we were hiring for a junior designer, we had over the weekend 100, applicants. And most of them had the same portfolio. They had 3 case studies, and there were all these bootcamp case studies, one personal project, one group project. So it was all like really this cookie cutter CVs and everything. And it was so difficult to find a project or an applicant that stood out. And I know you created your own course, and I looked through the modules, and you also teach about the personal brand and how to promote yourself, which I think is something that not every UX course does. It's often just the UX, but it doesn't actually teach you how to find a client, how to put yourself out there, which I think is really good that you have that in your course. So can you tell me a little bit more about the course, what motivated you to create it, and what it was like to build it?
Okay, so I think like just to start, where did this idea come up? And I had this offer from one website. I think it's like a Udemy,
Hmm.
a website where you gather a lot of courses and then you sell it. So one similar website services, they asked me to create a course for them, and I was like, no, I'm not good enough. What can I like teach others? I only have like 3 or 4 years of experience. And they're like, no, we are confident in you. We know that you can provide so much value to our students. So you can create UX design course, even short one, but it would bring much value to our students. I'm like, okay. They gave me this confidence, and when I started creating, thinking of the course, I thought, why would I create for them course? I want to create for my own self course.
Yeah.
I have my personal branding, like I can sell it to my students. So they gave me this like push up, the boost of confidence to create product on my own. And then I use it and decided to create this course for my own audience. And I asked them what would they love to learn from me, and a lot of them said that they would love to learn how to build personal brand and how to promote yourself as a designers. And that's the reason why I also included this part in the course. And I feel like it's really important nowadays because the competition is just so high. Before focusing on personal branding, I also tried like Fiverr, I tried Upwork, I tried so many different things, but like didn't work for me because the competition is just so high. And when you look on the Fiverr, right, you'll see a lot of designers that are willing to to do the project under $100, and that's just crazy. So that's the reason why I feel like it's so important nowadays to have your own personal branding, to show up yourself to the world, to show your work, and just start attracting clients instead of chasing them. And that's what personal branding can give you.
I 100% agree. I hear from so many people that try Upwork and Fiverr, and I know for some people it works really well. So if you want to give it a go, go for it. But I agree, like it's so much competition. You have to pitch on the projects. You don't have clients coming to you. And then you don't hear back from them. You're being ghosted. The rates are extremely low. So you're competing with tons of other people for a very low bucket of like whatever you can earn. And yeah, I don't think it's good. And I agree, it's also the if you have a personal brand, if you have a good reputation, if you have a good network, you get clients coming to you, so like inbound leads rather than you having to go out there and go outside, which is, I feel like, I mean, maybe on Fiverr and Upwork I didn't spend more than 5 minutes on it when I saw how they set up the posts and everything when I started freelancing. But I feel like there it's more outbound. You have to do the work to find work. Whereas if someone has a problem to solve, they should come to you to solve it. And the only thing you need to do is make it clear what problems do you help solve. And then the person that is trying to fix a problem will come to you if you brand yourself and market yourself well enough for that niche. So, what was it for you that you mentioned you did this TikTok video? I came across you through Instagram and I've been following you for a while. And I think it's very interesting with this whole personal branding because I'm not that big. I recently reached my first 1K followers, which I didn't even notice until, do you remember Alec
Yeah.
from Rob's course? Yeah, he messaged me and was like, congrats to 1K. And I was like, oh, what? I knew I was close, but I didn't realize it happened. And it feels like so much work too. And it's a numbers game and it's this, that, but it also feels like, from all these people who are actually like, some of them might be bots, some of them don't even see your content. It really depends on the algorithm. How do you stay motivated to create content? And do you have any recommendations for people who are trying to build a personal brand, who are working on gaining followers, gaining an audience? What kind of tips do you have for them?
Okay, so congrats on your 1K. That's I think that's a really good achievement because I do remember that getting my first 1K, which is so hard. It was the hardest part. And what comes after 1K was the easiest thing.
Hmm.
So you're on the right side.
No, thank
So
you.
I would say that when I started working on my personal blog, I was at the time still working at my full-time job. So it was hard to combine everything, but I would say that the start is really hard because you just have to post consistently. You have to show your loyalty to these platforms like Instagram and TikTok. They're testing your loyalty. They want to see if you're consistent. They want to see how loyal you are to them. So just start posting like regularly, at least 4 or 5 times per week at the very start, just at the very start. And then do engage every day. I engaged for like at least 20 minutes every day on my Instagram with other creators. I like their post, comment on their work, on design work, since we're talking about designers. And then I engage with them. And also, that's how I also build network with others. And I do keep like with some of them that I engage when I had less than 1,000 followers, I do still keep the communication even nowadays. So it's a really good way just to show up yourself and then also build the network and also get a followers because like engaging for like 20 minutes, 40 minutes per day gave me like 20, 30 followers. And that's just how it works. And I did this every single day until I got 1,000 followers. And then once I got 1,000 followers, I just stopped engaging because I was like so sick of the Instagram. But then I just started to post regularly, and some of the videos got like not over 1,000 views. So I was really discouraged. Like some of the videos got 100 views, 1,000 views, 100 and 1,000, and that's how it's like vary from in that range. And then magic thing happened to one video that got viral. At some point, it just got like 1 million views,
Wow.
and it just triggered my account to blow up. And I since posting that video, I for like 2 months, every day I got one more 1,000 followers. Each day I got
Wow.
1,000 followers, and it ended up getting like 100K followers in 2 months.
Congrats. Do you know what it was with that video that was different to the others?
I just recreated this video from other TikTok account. I don't know, like I literally steal this video. I'm so sorry. But to the guy that posted this video and I stole it. Yeah, nothing special.
Well, I mean, it's and someone is gonna steal yours, and yeah, so it's that's how it works.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you give some credit, or did you message that guy, or like did they reach out to you, or like was there any
Um
back and
I'm
forth?
guilty of it. I didn't do this. I'm sorry. But I usually do this. Like now, like since my West account like had less than 1,000 followers, I thought like I won't harm this person for sure. Like it won't harm this person, but I do know acknowledge that this is a bad thing. I do mention person if I like their content, if I like their idea and I wanna recreate this on my own way, I do give a credit to that person. And I think it's the right thing to do. At least like you acknowledge the fact that it was not your idea.
Yeah. I mean, it gave you that push that blew up your account. And I mean, it's a tricky thing because part of it is, yeah, it was someone else's idea and it helped you grow this much, but also maybe it wasn't his original idea. And sometimes you get these viral trends. Like one thing that worked for me really well, and so many other creators are doing this, is where you just have the text over, like, I'm so and so old and blah, 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 blah. And you see this kind of trend. So many people are doing this. And then there's another trend people keep doing. So you don't really know who started this whole thing, like who created this first initial thing, because it's like Chinese whispers. So everyone adds their own style to it.
Mm,
It is what it is.
yes.
So who are your current freelance client? Like, do they come to you through your social platforms? Because one thing that a lot of people ask me is, how do you find clients? And for me personally, when I started, it was LinkedIn. I would say 99% of my clients came through LinkedIn. And then from there, it was based on previous clients that referred me. And maybe I'm too old for this. So when I started freelancing, it's 5 years. I think it's been 5 years now. And now, like, I don't think back then Instagram, TikTok was such a big thing. More and more creators are now on Instagram and TikTok. I think they're slowly moving on to LinkedIn. Do you think it's important as a UX designer to have a LinkedIn, TikTok, and Instagram?
That's a good question. So I'm not really that active on LinkedIn, but I'm thinking that at some point of my career, I would start also taking it seriously. But I just think it just goes to choosing one or two platforms and then focusing on that. To not just to spread your attention and your energy on every single platform like LinkedIn, X, Behance, Dribble, and then Instagram, TikTok, everything. I need to be active on everything. That's how I would increase my chances. No, you just have to focus on one or two thing and like dedicate all of your efforts on that platforms to grow. And it's just how it worked for me. And I think also one more thing is just to recreate the content. You can use one idea and then just post it, the same idea, on multiple platforms. That how it makes it easier for you to be active on like at least two platforms. That's what I do when I just have one idea of piece of content. I send this on my newsletter, because I also have a newsletter where I share lots of valuable knowledge. And then some like bits of this information I share on my Instagram. I can create the content video from it. And also I repost this on TikTok. And they're just like crazy that I didn't do much of the efforts for example, for TikTok. I just reposted the same video from Instagram on it, but it got me like 30K followers.
Hmm.
So that's just the easiest way to be present at like at least two platforms.
I think it's super interesting because I worked with a coach in the past on personal branding, etc. And she recommended to, whatever you have, just reuse it, because even if you have 10 followers on Instagram, maybe you get and one more view on YouTube. So if you do have the platform, just reuse it. And some content does incredibly bad on Instagram, but then it blows up is an exaggeration, but normally on YouTube I get maybe 50 views, and then this one video has like 2,000 views overnight, and it's like, how? And on Instagram, like half as many people have seen it. So it's so weird to like, there isn't really a formula, I think, of why things work or don't work. You mentioned that once you have an idea that works, you just recreate the same style. How do you find that style?
Well, I do have like this fun trick that helps me to get more ideas. Is that when you scroll through Instagram or TikTok, you can just save the video and create the folder. And I have this folder called Reels Ideas.
Mm-hmm.
So I just look through other creators and just scroll through it. And if the creator is not even related to design, it could be related to fashion, or it could be related to anything, anything random, even like funny video, funny viral trending video. But I love the format, I love the idea, how it presented his idea. So that's just how what I use for myself. I can just recreate the same video format that was used for fashion and just make it just for my niche, for design niche. And that's how you just not like, you just not narrow down your ideas, because you focus not only on one thing, design thing. You just go to TikTok and Instagram and search like design videos or designers or UX design, and then just look through it. No, you just scroll through your recommendation list, and anything can be inspiring for you for your next reel.
I do the same. I have my private account, which I use for my friends, and then I have this branded account, and I just
Mhm.
message it to my private account, or the other way around. If I find a reel that's like, yeah, you could replicate this one, and and sometimes it's
Yeah.
just a very different niche, but it's a nice way of editing or a different format. So that, yeah, that's a good tip. Yeah, one thing I actually wanted to discuss and that you mentioned before was when you were talking about the confidence of creating your own course, and it surprises me a little bit because you have this huge following, you just launched your course, and you do create yourself this lifestyle that you saw from that Korean girl that you admired. So you're a go-getter. You're like, this is what I want. What do I need to do to get there? Okay, copywriting, it's not that. Web design, it's not. Okay, UX design, it is. So it surprises me that you didn't feel that you didn't have the confidence to do a course. And I think it's a pattern I've seen across other people that I've interviewed on the podcast, and also people I talk day to day, that they just don't feel confident enough to do something, even though everyone else sees that you could totally do this. So, do you have any tips for people that struggle with their confidence, that want to start something but think they're not good enough? What would you tell them?
Yeah, I do feel like, especially in this niche, we all struggle with this imposter syndrome. So I think it's just even reflected on my freelance journey, because for the longest time, I couldn't take any client project, because I thought I'm not good enough. I don't know everything. I don't know how to do these fancy animations. I don't know. What if the client asked me to do something that I have no clue about? Like they want to add like 3D motion or something so random, and I would be like, I don't know how to do this, sorry. And I would just embarrass myself. So that's the mindset that I have when I started, and it just blocked me from taking so many and refusing to so many great opportunities. And I think you just have to tell yourself that even if the client asks you something to do that you don't know, what's the problem? You can ask someone else how to do it. You can ask other designers how to do it. You can learn it. They're like, you can literally Google search how to do this, and they just learn it on the go. And that's the mindset that I'm still like working on, because sometimes I do have this feeling when I'm still, since I'm still creating course and I'm in the middle of teaching other students, I have this like kind of fear, what if they ask me something that I don't know, or they want my help where like I'm not that professional at that. So I'm just like thinking that it's not a problem. I need to be humble enough to acknowledge that I don't know everything, and I would never know everything, and that's just fine. But I can always ask some other designers, and I do have a lot of designer friends like you, Elisabeth, so I can ask you or anybody else for advice, and then I can also learn it on the go and just Google it. So there are no problems. There's nothing that you cannot solve if you have like, if you're open-minded about it.
100%. I mean, if it helps you, there's still so many things from like, I have no idea how I do this. And I just go on Google, and my whole UX career was like this. I never did a UX course. I learned everything through YouTube. And now you
Wow.
can just go on ChatGPT, or you can, like, there's so much stuff that you can do. And I actually think it's good to do those courses to give you a good structure and a good outline. But also I think it's difficult when you have a real project and you have an actual client problem, because every problem is different. So you will just have to proactively learn, how do you fix this problem, even if you have no user data or things like that. And yeah, I think we're so lucky that we're in a world where we have Google and all these kind of things that make it so easy to find a solution. And nobody knows everything. Even the president of America doesn't know everything. Even our moms don't know
Yeah.
everything, like, we just fluke it. And once you realize that everyone just flukes it, then it makes life so much easier. What is your biggest challenge at the moment as a freelancer?
Oof. I think the biggest challenge right now is just not getting distracted, because there are a lot of like opportunities and so many things that I also want to work at. Like I want to grow my like content creation skills. I want to improve it. I want to improve video editing skills, and I want to grow at this and this niche. But I also want to get like more better collaboration offers, and I also want to work on my course with my students, and I also want to work on my design skills and improve my like UI and no code tools knowledge. And then there's so many things, and I want to get more client work, and I'm just like so can get so distracted and spread my energy on everything, and ended up like in not being successful at anything. So I would say that this is the biggest challenge, is just to have your priorities and just to focus on one thing. And for now it's my course, um, and I'm creating modules and lessons for it, and also working with students and helping them to become freelance UX designer. And that's my main focus, but I do get it distracted so many times. So that's the challenge number one for me right now.
What do you do when you notice you get distracted? How do you get back into focus?
I think there's one book that it's over here, Essentialism, and I need to reread it again and again and again, because like I do like wrote some quotes from this book on my affirmations, and I read it every day. That I don't want to spread my energy to everything and do like and achieve like little steps at each. I want to spread my energy to one thing and get success from it. So that's the thing that I would suggest reading this book to every designers, because we do get distracted also a lot. Even like when you just do, distraction can come even just from TikTok. You might think, okay, I'm just getting inspiration for my next reels videos, and you're swiping on the TikTok for 2-3 hours,
Yeah.
and then just get distracted so easily.
It's so annoying somehow. Like, in a way, it's so beautiful we have this technology, but at the same time, it's like, oh, my subcontractor emailed me to the last invoices, so I use my app to set them up. And then you get a notification, and then you're in this rabbit hole of like, oh, I'm going to reply my emails, I'm going to reply my DMs. And it's like, what did I come to my phone again? It's like, oh yeah, I wanted to schedule the invoices. And it's like 2 hours later, it's like, how did this happen?
Yeah,
It's really, really difficult to keep track on that. Yeah.
always.
And what are your biggest learnings in your career so far?
Mm. I think back when I just started doing freelancing, I always thought that my value defines based on the year of experience that I have, or based on number of projects that I deliver. But it's ended up being not so true. Like you you are the one who defines your value, and I saw so many designers, freelance designers, who have only 1 year of experience, but they earn way more than freelancers that's been there for 4 or 5 years. And they're just crazy that it's literally you who defines your value and how much you are worth of. And that's the biggest lesson.
100%. Yeah. And I think that also
Yeah.
falls back to the confidence discussion we've had before. And I also think the amount of years don't matter, because you could work, and that's an example I give all the time, you could work 10 years at Microsoft everyone knows that company, but it's very likely going to be a big hierarchy. So maybe across those 10 years, you worked on the same button or the same like one page, or you could work in an agency where, like, similar to how you started, where you work on landing pages and apps and this and that, and maybe it's just something for tablet, maybe it's just something for mobile, and you just have so many different projects and variety where you will learn so much more. And personally, in the 1 year of freelance, the first year where I was a freelancer, I probably learned 3 times as much as in the 2 years I was in a permanent job before, because it was one team, one software, it was the same design system. And then when you start as a freelancer, every 2-3 months you work on a different project, and you learn so many different things. You learn so many soft skills: how to communicate with developers, how do you pitch a client, like why do you, like how you defend your ideas, which you don't always do in a permanent job. So I totally agree. It's not about the time, but what happens within the time, and that you set
Yeah.
your own value. Yeah.
Yes, it also comes to as a content creator, you can also get like additional income from collaborations, right? So I saw this strange thing that some creators that has only 1,500 followers, just 1K followers, and they can charge so much more for collab than the creators that have 50K followers. And they're just crazy. It all comes down to your, I guess, confidence, or I don't know, like that's so strange that the same creators, like creators with such a different range of followers, number of followers, but the smaller one can get so much more than the bigger one, and it
Mm,
also all goes to your confidence.
yeah. Okay, one final question. If you were to start over today, would you still do it? And if so, how would you do it?
Oh, good question. I think I would still do it, but I would do it way earlier. I would quit my job earlier, and I would definitely work on that imposter syndrome and maybe got a therapy or something. I don't know. I would work on that. Uh, and I would definitely challenge myself with the projects that I felt like I'm not good enough, and I would still do it, try it, and learn from it. And I think that that's the thing that I would definitely do when if I could ever start again.
On the note with taking on projects, even if you feel like you're not good enough, if the client offers you that role, they think you're good enough. They think that you can deliver it to them. So if you then reject it, you are the one who says no to yourself. You're the one who says no to learning that skill that you know that you want to learn. So it's again the confidence thing. It's so important. Yeah. And everyone should have therapy. Everyone. No matter if you think you have no childhood trauma, whatever, everyone has something where they need to do therapy, and even if it's for confidence. So yeah.
That's true. Such a
Thank you so much for joining today. I'm so glad you took the time, and I'm sure our listeners got some insights out of this. Before we end the conversation, there are a few questions that I ask every guest, and one question is, would you ever go back to a permanent job?
no, no, I would never. I mean, I had this like the number one fear that I had is just these Slack notifications that I receive, and especially like the message from the senior positions, like we should have a call or something like that, and they just leave you on that on the left and just saying that you're like having the most like, it's just such a fear, and your heart starts like trembling, and you're like, what did I do wrong? Like, are they going to fire me? And that's just constant fear every day that you did something wrong, that you're going to embarrass yourself in front of clients or other designers or colleagues. And they just, no, I would never want to have this feeling again in my life. Like recently I joined like Slack, a Slack group of designers, and I received the notification again. It was such a like, reflection of the same thing that happened 2 years ago, and my heart just stopped for a second. Like, no, no way. So I do have like I have this trauma from a full-time job.
Oh gosh. And the other question is, if you could go back in time to when you were in Korea and you saw that girl who you felt like you wanted this lifestyle, what would you tell yourself?
Oh, that's good question. I would tell her that to believe more in herself and her abilities, because I always thought that I'm not good enough to work in tech. I don't even have a degree. Like at the time I had nothing on my back, like I didn't end a boot camp or a degree, and that felt with me for 2 years. After working a full-time job, I felt like I'm not good enough to be in this position. I should be grateful, but at any point of time I can lose this because I'm not good enough. I don't have a degree. I don't have anything to prove that I should be here. So I would tell her definitely to believe in herself, to value myself way more than I thought. I'm worth. So definitely I would give her this piece of advice. And I would say that I'm so proud of herself, that she was brave enough to quit the university, and she was brave enough to move to Korea at the age of 18,
Wow.
even without having no one else on her side. Yeah, to move to the other country on the other part of the world, having no friends over there, but just finding inspiration from other people like Chanel. And I'm so proud of her. That's
Wow.
what I would say.
No, you can be proud of that. That's very, very brave, especially at that age. And if you think of your future self coming back today, let's say your future self 5 years from now. So you hosted that course, maybe you've got a couple other courses by then. You probably have even a bigger following. You probably had some very amazing collaborations. Your future self 5 years from now, but if she would come to you today, what do you think she would tell you?
Mm, I would. I think she would still tell me to remain a focus in life, because do think that I'm willing to get distracted by my career so much to the point that I can neglect important things in life, like my family, spiritual things, like myself. So she would still say to me that I should definitely enjoy my life, because I'm not doing this because I love this career and I love UX design. I'm doing this because this will allow me to live the life of freedom, to enjoy the life. That's the main purpose of this life. It's just not to spend the whole day and the whole life into this career, but just to make it as a tool. Freelance UX design is a tool that enables me to earn more while working less. And that's the main thing. And she would definitely remind me about that.
Well, I hope that maybe we can have this conversation again 5 years from now with your future self. And yeah, thank you so much for taking the time today. If any of the listeners want to learn more about you, where can they find you?
You can definitely find me on my Instagram and TikTok. And then also, if you want more valuable information coming to your email, you can definitely subscribe to my email list. Also, in like 3 months, if you are interested in becoming freelance UX designer and want to build your personal brand, I would launch there would be a complete launch of my course. So stay tuned.
Perfect. I'll link everything in the show notes. And yeah, thank you so much for your time. It was so nice to talk to you today, Dyniza.
Oh, thank you for having me, Lizzie. Okay, have a great day then.
You too. Bye. What a nice conversation with Dyniza. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. I'm adding all the links to the description of this podcast, including the link to sign up to her course. If you liked this episode, please leave a review and hit the follow button. This helps the Freelance Blueprint get suggested to more freelancers like you. And feel free to share this episode with anyone you think can benefit from listening. That's all from me, and I can't wait to have you join again next week.